Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Gayatri ji.
Thank you.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Radhe Radhe Nitin ji. Welcome everyone to the daily wisdom of Bhagavad Gita session. Over to you.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Pallavi ji. Thank you, Padmini ji and Gayatri ji, for a wonderful session. It was a beautiful bhajan to round it off. So welcome. Good morning, good evening to all of you. Welcome to today's Bhagavad Gita session. Today we are going to discuss something very important, often misunderstood as well, the difference between God and demigod. And then we will talk about how our nature propels us to continue following what we do in this world, even when it comes to gods or demigods as well. So let's get started. We'll get started with our opening prayers. I'm going to share my screen. If you're joining for the first time, welcome, very warm welcome to our session. We have these sessions every day, Monday through Friday and Tuesday through Saturday in India Standard Time. We shall get started with our opening prayers. So let me pull up my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we'll get started with our opening prayers then. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening once again, everyone. So today we will move on to our next shloka, which is chapter 4, verse 12. I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow. And we'll get deeper into the shloka today. So let me recite it and then you're welcome to follow. Kankshanta karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. All right. Whom do we have?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Shyamji, please go ahead.
Good morning.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
You hear me? I'm okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Kang Shanta Karmana Siddhim Yajanta Eham Devata Shipram Hi Manushe Loke Siddhir Bhavati Karmaja. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Shyamji. Radhe Radhe.
Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
Please
Sandhya.
go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Very nice, Sandhya. Wonderful. All right.
Bragi ji, Radhe Radhe. Please
Radhe
go ahead.
Ji.
Radhe Radhe. काङ्क्षन्ता कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्ता इह देवता क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Very nice, Pragi Ji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Vandana ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Vandana Ji.
Radhe Radhe. Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja.
Very nice, Vandana Ji. Beautiful. Radhe Radhe.
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Kangshat, 1 minute. Kangshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devata kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja.
Very nice, Rupa ji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Meenakshi ji.
Radhe
Radhe
Radhe.
Radhe, yeah, please go ahead.
काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा. Radhe
Very
Radhe.
nice, Meenakshi ji, and welcome back. We are hearing you after a long time.
Yes.
After a long time, huh?
Yes, I
Hope
had some
everything-
personal commitments. I couldn't join. Nitin.
Okay. No worries. Good to hear you back.
Thank you.
We missed your voice and your daughter's son's recitation as well. So welcome back.
Thank you.
All right.
Geeta
Let me
ji,
pick up a few
Radhe
notes.
Radhe, yeah, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Geeta ji.
कांडिशन्तः कर्मणा सिद्धिं यजन्त इहि देवता क्षिप्रं हि मानुष्यलोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा. Radhe Radhe.
Geeta ji, Radhe Radhe. We'll pick up 2 more hands and we'll get started.
Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe Sumesh ji.
Antah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha क्षिप्रं भवहि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर भवति कर्मजा.
Very nice.
Radhe Radhe.
Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe. Wonderful.
Ram ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sam ji.
Kakshanta karamnam siddhim yajanta ehi devata kshipram hi manushloke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Sam ji. So let us get started. Have we covered everybody? All of you?
Yes. I
Okay.
don't see any more hand raised. Yeah.
All right. No worries. Let's get started then. So, Kangshanta means desiring, karmanam, material activities, siddhim, success, yajante, worship, iha, in this world, devata, the celestial gods, kshipram, quickly, he, certainly, manushe, in human society, loke, within this world, siddhi, rewarding, bhavati, manifest, karmaja, from material activities. So the short translation for this shloka goes like, in this world, those desiring success in material activities worship the celestial gods. Since material rewards manifest quickly. God is saying material rewards manifest quickly. Indirectly, he's saying spiritual rewards do not manifest quickly. And if we go for material rewards, we worship celestial gods. And that is what we'll tackle a little bit, right? Yesterday, I think Shruti brought up the concept of mannat and things. Right? Yeah, scriptures talk about if you need this, do this. If you need this, do that. So we'll try to go a little deeper into that topic as well. And, the pros and cons basically, or is it really beneficial, from a devotion standpoint. So let's get started. Let's first look at the concept that has been introduced in the shloka. When I was introduced to Bhagavad Gita, initially, this was a new concept for me. The Devi Devatas, God, we all talk in same breath, that they are all the same, right? Devi Devatas and gods, they are same. And the concept that the Devi Devata or the demigods and God, there is a difference between them, was a new concept for me. I'm sure it will be a revelation and a newer concept for a lot of you as well, just to understand this concept. And that is what we will get started with. It's important to understand the technical difference between the two, and then we'll get further into the shloka as well. So we have a president of the state. Every country has a president. Like in India, democratic system, its president is more lame duck or a rubber stamping one. It's the prime minister who has more powers. President has not much option but to generally agree with the democratically elected leader, which is prime minister. But in US, president has the most power. So when you have a president of a country, typically president is not alone. He has a big cabinet as well, right? So let's look at it. So he's considered as the topmost authority of a government, federal government of a country. And then you have its cabinet, like we have a secretary of state, then we have a secretary of treasury, and then we have a secretary of defense, and so on, depending upon the portfolios that are important, attorney general, and so on. All these are the cabinet of that president. President is the ultimate authority, but then when he runs the government, he needs certain posts to administer certain departments. And these are the posts as you look at it. And there are handpicked people. In this case, they might have come through electoral system as well. But end of the bottom line here is that those posts have to be vacated once the president is out of power. Right? After 34 years or 5 years, if it changes, then those post holders change as well. These are not permanent posts. The post is permanent, but people who occupy that post is not permanent. Those people keep on changing. Similarly, in administering the affairs of the world, there are posts such as above that we are talking about. And that is where we are going to draw parallels with regards to how it works in the spiritual, in the material world basically, but how does it map to the concept that we are discussing. So here we've got the president, the Param Purush that we keep talking about. Lord Krishna is the Param Purusha, scriptures say that. Now, these demigods that we are talking about, also called celestial gods. And the king of these gods is Lord Indra. He's Indradev. He's the king of all the celestial gods. And then, under his domain, these are the celestial abodes. We spoke about all the higher abodes. We are in the middle one. And then there are lower abodes as well. So the king of all the celestial abodes is Indra. As we have heard so many stories about Indra, even in Krishna Leela, Indra had come down. He not bestowed, but tormented Braj with a lot of rain because the Brajvasis did not worship him, and he administers Varun Dev, who administers rain. So these devatas, they have certain portfolios, and they come under the dominion of Lord Indra. So he's the king. But within his kingdom, he has Agni Dev, the god of fire. Then he has Vayu Dev, the god of wind, Varun Dev, the god of the ocean, and so on. So these are all the posts. Now, these higher planes, if you look at it, they are in charge of the administration, as we said, of the universe, different portfolios. And God, basically, he administers this universe through them only. In fact, it is said, Lord Krishna, he takes a Purna avatar once in a while. The 5,000-year avatar that happened, that was a Purna avatar where actual Lord Krishna came down from his Golok. Otherwise, even the Krishna avatar or Ram avatar, it happens through Vishnu, his Ansh or the planetary expansions. And Krishna's primary role is to do Premdan to those souls who have perfected their devotion. He doesn't get out of Golok Vrindavan. His plenary expansions basically take care of the not only managing this universe, but also even the avatars that happen, that those are called Ansha avatars. The Purna avatars happens once in a while. But these devatas are different from God himself. That is the key concept. Now they are in the higher plane of existence for sure, which is called Swarg, that we so proudly think is the place to go after this life. But our scriptures tell us that Swarg is also a temporary pit stop. Should not be the goal of our life, because these celestial abodes are also in the material realm. You may get a better body, an upgraded body with no disease, better facilities, more potential for enjoyment, but these Panchaklesh that we spoke about, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moho, all these remain. Even Indra is afflicted by them. And secondly, these are temporary posts. And since we have been existing since time, eternity, right? Let's look at it now. Who gets to occupy these posts, right? People who have done some virtuous deeds in their past, now they get this as a gift, or as a, what do you call that, compensation for all the meritorious deeds that they have, as a reward for their meritorious deeds, to administer it, and they become celestial gods. And since we have been existing since time, eternity, there is a good potential, or a good odd of us having occupied these posts as well, including the post of Lord Indra. The bottom line is that they are ordinary souls like us, just enjoying a higher spiritual, not spiritual, celestial um, existence because of the virtuous deeds that they have done in the past. So if you are married to Sattvagun, like for example, if you spend your life in doing a lot of humanitarian work, doing charity, doing good for people and all that stuff, you're operating in Sattva, those meritorious deeds take us to these celestial abodes. And in fact, our scriptures talk about, if you want to become Indra, there are certain things you can do and you can become Indra. And it is quite possible we have become Indra as well. Maharaji says that we have gone through all the kind of births that are possible, including these celestial and becoming the king and all that. But the point here is we are still rotating in 8.4 million. These are just posts that you occupy, and then you come back and start rotating in this 8.4 million cycle. And these posts have to be vacated after your tenure is over. It's not that you can hang on to that post and say, now I cannot leave it. No, it's not there. It is temporary. You have to vacate it. So let's continue. And what is the tenure of these posts? Let's look at that as well a little bit, just to put it in perspective. But important thing here to understand is, even Lord Indra is afflicted with all the imperfections that we have as part of being under the dominion of Maya. And we have so many stories, right? Lord Indra, he becomes insecure whenever somebody's worshipping hard, so that his kingdom will be snatched away. In fact, he also has kamanas, or desires to get bigger and better, like we all do. He wants to get the seat of Brahma. And then anybody who starts getting powerful, he starts getting insecure. So all those things are there. And so it's not that they are perfected soul and they have reached somewhere. But yes, they are devatas, and they play a very important role in sustaining and managing the affairs of this universe. The rain cycle, the wind cycle, the weather patterns, and all that is controlled by these devatas. In fact, one of the shlokas we spoke about, if we do our prescribed duties, the devatas are pleased. That's when we are not freely riding this universe, just enjoying for ourselves, cutting the trees for ourselves, just enjoying eating and just moving on. When we do our prescribed duties, it is called yajna, and that is what pleases devatas. And then it helps in maintaining the harmony of all the natural forces around us. And the fact that we get rain, sun, and everything, pretty much not so bad. I mean, global warming is happening, all that stuff, but that means enough yajnas, austerity, or harinam is there in this world, because of which this is sustained. And this cycle is going to diminish over time towards the end of Kali Yuga. Not a near future, but towards the end of Kali Yuga, when people will start becoming extremely selfish. In fact, maybe we can have a session on how the decay is going to happen in the later stages of Kali Yuga. And that is when everything starts getting reversed, because we are not doing the bare minimum things that are needed for us to please these devatas as well, because we have to pull in our weight. We cannot be a free rider in this creation. So let's continue and look at it. How did we have a question? Anybody? I can raise.
Yeah, Nitinji, Ramya ji has question about Suryadev. Does Suryadev also come under celestial demigod? She wants to know that.
Vivaswan, that's an interesting one. It's Surya. In fact, there are crores, billions and billions of Surya. I think that is in the material realm, but I can check it up. Vivaswan is the name of our Surya god. Does he come under the dominion of our material world? is something I can check it up. As far as I know, it does. But the Surya and Chandrama only in spiritual abode is something God himself takes upon that form. But other than that, like we pray to Surya God for our health and other things as well, it actually comes under as part of demigods only, but I may be wrong. So I can confirm and get back to you. I think Jyotiji might have an answer for you. Yes, Jyotiji, I think probably.
Yes, Jyotiji. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead, Jyotiji.
Yes, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. From my limited understanding, I know that Surya Narayan, there is a avatar of Bhagwanji as Surya Narayan also. But like you said, every material planet has its own Surya, which is which is for that Manvantar, and right now it is Vivaswan. That is this is the Vivaswan Manvantar that's happening, and beyond that, like you said, in Golok Vrindavan, there is no need for Surya to be there because Bhagwanji ka itna prakash hota hai कि you don't need another light source to light up the place.
Yep.
Radhe Radhe.
Very true. Thank you, Jyotiji. Wonderful.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's a good question. I'll clarify that. Is it a gray area or it's in black and white completely? I'll check it out and I'll let you know on that.
Samji also has a good question.
God himself assumes the position of that light, but in material realm, I think I'll check it out and let you know. Yes, Samji, you had an answer for that as well.
Radhe Radhe. Like
Radhe
I
Radhe.
mentioned in the past one time back, I talked to Swamiji also, like when he was in Chicago, and Adi Shankaracharya also, I was told, confirmed it. There are 5 so-called, not celestial gods, but 5 original ones. Panchashakti है. तो उसमें आ जाते हैं ये
नवग्रह. I think वो नवग्रह में.
No. Lord Shiva, Shakti, Ganesh ji, Surya Devta ji, and Vishnu Devta ji. The 5 are counted in those 5.
Okay. Yeah. Instead of Surya,
I thought शिव जी के हो गए 3 तो ऊपर से चौथा विष्णु जी, 5वां ये सूर्य देवता जी. That's what Sri Shankaracharya I was told. Some different sources.
Okay. Yeah. What I had heard was the Surya that you say that includes Navgraha as well. But anyway, I'll check it out and let you know because it's a good question. I've not clarified it ever, But yeah, thank you, Samji, for bringing that out. Yeah, Panchashakti are there anyways. All right. Nevertheless, let's understand the remaining ones, Indra and all, they are celestial, they are demigods. They are not the real God. Okay. And they are just temporary posts. Now, for how much duration do they have that? Let's look at it. The Vedas say that the Devatas, the celestial gods, change after every Manvantar. And one cycle of Satyug to Kalyug is called a Chaturyug. In between come Treta and Dwapar as well. 71 Chaturyug makes one Manvantar. One Chaturyug has 4.3 million years. And Brahma's one day has 14 Manvantar. So we are in 7th Manvantar, which is called Vyaswat Manvantar. And 14 times all the Devatas are going to change in Brahma's one day. So Brahma's one day means 14 times the post has been occupied by 14 different souls, because it has to change, right? Indra, there is a story that there was a sage and there was a row of ants going on. So Indra, the incumbent Indra, asks, what is this row of ants that is going on? And this sage says that these are all the past Indras. So Indra can become ant also. That is the thing. 8.4 million. You are still operating in 8.4 million. And the flip side of getting into the celestial abode is that you cannot make any further deposits to perfect your devotion. Right? That is a very, very interesting concept. In fact, devotion is what? Through mind. So let's say you are Indra or you are in celestial abode, and in your mind you are still thinking about God or something. You have those kind of sanskars in your mind. The point is, it is still a bhogyoni. You cannot add to anything that you have done. You can just enjoy bhog and then get off. So that is why they also crave for human birth, because in human birth you can actually make additions. You can make deposits that can take us further in this journey. In these yonis, unlimited enjoyment. Right? I think I'd spoken about that. Brahmaji had given this injunction to people in celestial abodes to exercise dam. Dam means restraint. So if you are fond of rasgullas, you just have to desire and you'll taste the rasgulla. You don't even have to eat that. So there's just unlimited opulences there. Their bodies and everything is not like our, which gets weak, and the aroma. I mean, it's pretty fascinating. We have forgotten it. We all have been through that, by the way. So, but the point here is that that is not something that we should desire, because it's a temporary thrill that we are seeking, and it's not really helpful for our spiritual journey. A devotee would really focus on the goal, not get sidetracked by all these things. And this comes in the advanced level of bhukti. We are not even in mukti yet. In devotion, they say bhukti mukti nade radhe prema sudhade. We reject bhukti and we reject mukti. Mukti is a spiritual bliss, very high level of spiritual bliss. That also has to be rejected. And this is advanced level of bhukti. See, our mind can get corrupted even with the low level of bhuktis also. If you get fame and money, and that itself can intoxicate us. But this is also advanced level of bhukti, and level of bhuktis are also very high, all the way up to Brahmalok. Anyways, the point here is these demigods, they are in charge of the administration, and they do have the ability to bestow boons upon us. And if you worship and you do certain yagyas, you can actually get rewards. Now, whether doing that, although it's prescribed, not prescribed, but mentioned in our scriptures, is something really beneficial for us. So let's look at it a little deeper. What have I pulled up? And I don't see it right now. Okay. So there's a person which is watering a tree. Yes, Pragi, you had a question?
Yeah, this topic is raising a lot of questions, Nitinji. I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat.
All right, please go ahead.
Pragiji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, from the previous slide, you told about the 14 manvantras, and each manvantras has one Manu. Then who are Manus then?
Who are Manus then?
Yeah, each manvantra has Manu. So what's the role of the Manus?
Manu, I think that is the progenitor, right? Original from through which Manushya come. So that cycle repeats, every time the universe is unleashed, from the navel of Mahavishnu comes Brahmaji, and then he does tapa, and that cycle keeps on repeating. And then when the humans come, the first Manushya, your human, is, I think, Manu. And every Manvantar, they have their own. I think Bhagavatam talks about that. You would know probably better than me. But yes, Manu is also the same cycle keeps on repeating. And then the humans come through that Manu. In Bible, I think they call it Adam and Eve, but this is the origin of humans actually, through Manu.
And Mahavishnu and the different Karan, Dakshay Vishnu, Garbho Dakshay Vishnu, they all are God, or they include in the?
No, they are planetary expansions of God. So Pratham Purush, first is Param Purush, Krishna, then Pratham Purush comes, and then the Dvitiya Purush and Tritiya Purush. Tritiya Purush is Kshirodakshay, the Dvitiya is, I believe,
Garbho
Dakshay, and Pratham Purush is Mahavishnu himself. So they are planetary expansions of God. They are not demigods. Similarly,
Actually, I was reading one shloka from the Swamiji's Bhagavad Gita. It was mentioned over there from Karan Garbho Dakshay Vishnu, and then from Garbho Dakshay Vishnu, Rain Karano Dakshay Vishnu arises. So that shloka I don't exactly remember, but
yeah, that is fine. Point here being, they are planetary expansions. Planetary expansions are different from demigods. They are still God. Okay, it is God's forms only, his own expansions. So maybe we'll do one more session. I had done that previously. I will repeat that. Within God also, there are two categories. Some are called Swansh, which are his own Ansh. Some are Vibhinansh. Okay, within Vibhinansh, you have different categories. Nitya Siddh, Nityabadh, and those categories are there. And within Swansh also, there are categories. So there are expansions which are Swarup Shakti Yukt. They always have it. And then the Vibhinansh, they become Swarup Shakti Yukt when they become God realized. So those concepts are there, but let's for today's discussion's sake say that the planetary expansions are God himself. They are no different from God. and no less.
Shivji and actually, sorry, just last one. Shivji is the god, is also the plenary expansion. Actually, I read somewhere, or I think from Maharajji, there is a difference between Shivji and Shankar. Shankar is the post, and Shivji is the power.
Yeah. So we did one on Shankarji as well. There is no difference between them at all. And Vishnu anyway, there's no difference. Brahmaji, a Jeev Shakti, you and I can become Brahmaji as well, by the way. But sometimes God does not get an eligible person, then he himself takes the form of a Brahma as well. So Brahmaji is a soul, a regular soul like us, very elevated soul. But then after taking on the role of a Brahma, it's such a high level of duty that he discharges. Obviously has to be a very high post, elevated soul. Then they become God realized after that. But sometimes Brahmaji, when God does not find a suitable soul, Jivatma, because Brahmaji, a Jivatma can become as well. When he doesn't find it, he himself takes on the role of a Brahma as a planetary expansion. It's like a CEO saying that I don't have my chief operations officer, let me play the role of that as well. Okay. So that is how it becomes as well. But yes, remaining are his planetary expansions, and those planetary expansions are different from demigods. Demigods are posts, temporary posts, which have to be vacated 14 times in one Brahma's day, Brahma's one day.
So talking about Brahma, Nitinji, someone has put question in chat about Brahmaji. I think you have answered first part of the question. I think second part is about why is Brahmaji regarded with Vishnu and Mahesh, as these are Swarupansh of Bhagwan, as much as I know.
No, Brahmaji is not the Swarupansh of Bhagwan, like I said. It could be if there is no suitable Jivatma for that particular universe, then God can assume that form. However, a Jivatma has an ability to become Brahma. I said Indra aspires to become Brahma because Brahma's post is higher than that of Indra. So we can become Brahma. In fact, our scriptures tell us the process to become Brahma as well, if you are willing to take on so much of austerities and willing to work on yourself. So Brahma, that Trinity is always there. That Trinity is basically there to administer each Brahmand. Each Brahmand has its own Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Our Brahmaji is the one with least number of heads, four-headed Brahma. There are Brahmajis who have much more heads than our Brahmaji. That means those universes are much, much more bigger than ours. All right, let's continue. We'll come back. I know it's an interesting.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions, Nitinji, and mostly people are asking about the hierarchy, like who are gurus, who is Brahma, where does they all like fall into the hierarchy?
Okay. So I'll
also who is Kartikeya, who is Ganesh, where all they all like, there are a lot of questions.
By the way, Ganesh ji is also part of Panchashakti. When Shiva and Parvati's wedding happened, they worshipped Ganesh ji. Now you would say, what kind of a thing it is? Parents are worshipping their kid who has not even taken birth yet. So it is Panchashakti, they are Leelas. Okay, they are all planetary expansions of God. Let's just put it that way. Now, whether Kartikeya is planetary expansion or was it okay? I have not done so much of research or known that. I can ask that. But let's understand that demigods are the ones which are in celestial abodes. If we worship them, we will get boons, but that is not the objective of devotion, and we'll see why. We'll continue this discussion. If you have any specific questions around that, put it in the tracker. I'll try to get those resolved. But let's get into the theory, what we want to cover here, the difference between demigod, celestial god. So point here being, next time you hear this thing that, Swarglok, like there are a lot of people who, gurus, so-called spiritual gurus, I've heard some lectures where they say, if you hear my lecture or discourse, the doors will be open for you in Swarg. Or a doormat, you'll be laid a red carpet to Swarg, and people are, wow, just by hearing lecture, we'll go to Swarglok. Very happy about it. No accountability, just hear lecture, enjoy the katha, and then Swarg's doors are open for you. The first point is, That doesn't work that way. First of all, we have to work on ourselves. The buck stops at us. Secondly, even if, let's say, hypothetically or theoretically, it takes us to Swarg, does it really serve the purpose of our life? It doesn't. So the discussion today is just to make sure that we understand this concept really well, because people take a lot of pride by saying Swargvasi. Somebody says, right, this is Swargvasi. That's not a very great aspiration to have, to go to Swarg. If we say Golokvasi, then it makes sense, assuming the soul has actually gone there. But going to Swarg is, we've always been to Swarg, multiple times possibly. And we don't have to pay too much heed to the celestial gods. And let's look at this concept, go deeper into it. So here is a tree. Now, in order to nourish this tree, you can either nourish each deep leaf individually. That is a way to nourish the tree as well, or you simply nourish the root, and the leaves would automatically be served in the process. Similarly, all the ceremonies and processes that we do for celestial gods, for the material gains or material prosperity that we do, but when we do it for the satisfaction of Supreme God, and what makes the difference? Our consciousness, nothing else. You might be doing the same activity. If you are doing it with the intention of serving your, some Devi Devata for sake of getting some boon or some material reward, that is one aspect of it. But if you are doing it as a sacrifice to God, then it makes whole difference. Just changing the intention. God is not asking us to do something upside down and anything. You do the same act, but changing the consciousness here. So now when you do it as a sacrifice or yajna for God, it is like watering the root, which is much more smarter way, is what our scriptures tell us, because you're already taken care of each part of it. The flower, fruit, twigs, branches, everything is served. So when you serve the Supreme Lord, you call it Vishnu, Ram, Krishna, whichever planetary expansion of them, you are actually serving the root. Because these devatas, they also derive energy from God himself. He's the original powerhouse. So you go directly to the source. Why to talk to go to the party? Why to deal with the brokers in between, right? That movie was there, right? Are you party or a broker? I forgot which movie. It was an interesting one. I think
Ghosla ka Ghosla.
Ghosla ka Ghosla, yeah. That reminds me of, it was a very witty, funny, humorous movie. So used to ask, are you party or are you the broker? So if you're a broker, why to deal with it? So same thing. Next time you can remember that, okay? These are all brokers. They're not the party. Real party is God. So when you start doing God, that is automatically served. You don't have to do anything different for that. Okay. Let's hear something beautiful from Swamiji. Very short clip, which talks about this concept. Let me know if you're able to hear it.
Yes.
Are you able to hear? Okay.
Dad, Swamiji, I have been worshipping these Devi Devtas since so many years in my home. From the time of my father, grandfather. Now suddenly if I stop, will they not become annoyed? Stop my worship. First of all, the principle is there. The actual Devata will be happy that we have gone to the shelter of his boss. The Devata's worship is automatically fulfilled in it. That Swamiji.
Okay, so yeah, it was a short clip. It's automatically fulfilled. So you don't really have to worry about
that, Swamiji.
Because you are worshipping the root, so no fear whatsoever. With confidence, reject everything and simply go to the source. Lord Krishna did that during his avatar as well. If you know that story, maybe if not thought about it, he actually challenged Brajvasis just to illustrate this concept. He said, why do you worry about this Indra kind of a deal, right? Rather, if you have to worship somebody, worship Govardhan, who feeds our cows. So they said, no, Indra gives us rain and all that stuff. And they said, stop doing that. Just do it for Govardhan. And Indra took offense. Obviously, he's under Maya. He's not an elevated soul, maybe a little pious soul. And then we know that how that Leela unfolded, right? Finally, he understood that I'm talking to my boss. He's the reservoir of all the energy that we derive, and all the tornado and all. Krishna, through his flute, he just consumed everything. And finally, Indra's regained sanity, and he said, all right, sorry about that. I had forgotten it, right? So Indra is also afflicted by ego and all the other things that we people struggle with as well at a different varying degrees. So that is what the concept of demigods is. Now the question here is, okay, let's look at it through an analogy and another example of it. Okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but hopefully this analogy would drive home a little more point around it. So let's say we have an ailing son or somebody ailing at our family, and we go to a doctor, and doctor tells us, he writes down something and says, go take this medicine. So you take down that medicine, you listen to that doctor, and then wherever he's asked you to go to the medical shop, and whatever medicine is given, you take that, and then you come back to that. Now, are we surrendered, or are we worshipping the doctor here? Is the question. Who are we surrendered to, and who are we worshipping in this whole process? Right? We are actually listening to the doctor, what he's saying, and then roaming around and finding just the right kind of a medicine and getting that medicine and then getting it back to the ailing son, right? So are we surrendered to the doctor, or are we surrendered, basically, are we worshipping the doctor, or are we worshipping somebody else here? Anybody?
Yes, Shyamji, go ahead.
Radhe, somebody else here.
Yes, Shyamji.
Somebody else here. Somebody else.
Who's that somebody else?
The sick person.
His intellect, his knowledge, the way he has gained his knowledge from.
Right. Yeah, very true. Although we are listening to the doctor, following his commands or whatever he's saying, but actually at the heart, we are worshipping the ailing person. Right? So we have approached a doctor for something different. We are not worshipping the doctor. Similarly, when we go to God with a mannat or something, are we worshipping God? Let's draw parallels to that. No, we are not. So that is a question. When we do mannats and stuff like that, we are actually catering to that desire that we have. It's not called worship. Right? Going to God and asking for things that he can give. That's just like Duryodhan did. Okay, give me your, it was like the better than the naval fleet of US at that point, the strongest army. And on the other hand, we had God who had taken a vow not even to lift a weapon. So he said, what am I going to do with him? So he said, okay, let me get what he has to give. So in that case, there's no question of worship. What you are seeking is what your intention behind, or the desire is what you are serving. You're not serving God at that point. So when we do mannats, when we go to God with our bucket list, okay, make me pass my exam, or make me get me a good person to marry, or let me hit a jackpot, or let Pakistan lose today to India, whatever it is, it's not worship actually. We're going there. So we are not really helping our cause in that case. Okay. Now this habit of catering to our desires alone actually keeps on manifesting in us because we are habituated to it since multiple lifetimes, right? That's why we do mannat, go to tirath. When you go to tirath, if you are going it for the sake of God, great. But if you are doing it for the sake of, so that if I have this and then I'll come back and do this, is it really worship? It is not. So this habit, because of this habit, we are always looking for something that can give us gratification. And anything that gives us gratification without having to exert ourselves is appealing to us. So if you go to somebody and listen to their discourse and they say, okay, I'll give you a guru mantra, or I'll tell you something, this good thing will happen, it always appeals to us. If somebody tells you no, you have to, buck stops at you. End of the day, you have to work on yourself. This is very cumbersome for us. Right? Now the accountability has started coming in. Now, otherwise, there's absolutely no accountability, right? You just have to come, listen, maybe get something in your ear and enjoy the katha, and everything will happen all by itself. Isn't it much more appealing? Plus, you get some promises for material rewards as well. Something good will happen. All the problems in your life will start vanishing. So it just appeals to us very nicely. Scriptures tell us there is a problem, big problem there. In fact, God's principle is just the reverse. When he starts giving his grace, he starts testing you. Okay, now when you become his favorite child, he will start testing you with the test that you can take actually. Not like everything will become hunky-dory and you'll go to Swarg and boom, life begins. Now, because of it, what happens is, because of our nature, this is what I wanted to discuss a little bit today. Now, the highest we know what is the goal, okay, or even otherwise, let's talk about higher goals in our material life as well. Spiritual goal is obviously the ultimate goal. But let's say, for example, we want to achieve something high in life, even in this life. Maybe it could be a post, it could be becoming an IAS, it could be cracking MIT, it could be becoming a scientist, it could be creating the next satellite, anything worthwhile in this world. Even to pursue that, what is the biggest impediment? Why is it that not everybody is able to see through the intent or the desire that they made? Then we will get to the spiritual part of it. What is the biggest impediment to the highest goal and why? Anybody who wants to take that question?
Yeah, Preeti ji,
Yes,
please
please.
go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Radhe Radhe. Nitinji, I guess the highest impediment is our own mind block. Our own mind block, I say. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, there is a saying in English that if you think you can, or
You
if
can think you cannot. Either ways, you're right. Yeah.
either way you are right. Very true. Very
Default. Yeah.
is an impediment. And the mind, let's go a little deeper. Why our mind? What does our mind tell us? Why our mind becomes a roadblock for us? Is it a lack of belief in our abilities? Yes, possibly. But more often than not, I'll bring in a point that you'll say, yeah, more often than not, that becomes a reason. That's how our mind tricks us, that friend of ours, which is always out there to trick us in different ways. Yes, I can see quite a few hands.
Yeah, Ramya ji has mentioned the laziness in that there could be laziness, and some other people are mentioning about the desires or vasanas or losing focus.
True. So let's continue to build this discussion.
Yes.
It's actually an easier path to a lower goal. We all like to take a path of least resistance. When we don't have to exert ourselves and we can get something, we said, all right, this is fine. I mean, I can tell you my own example. When I was not even clear, I mean, till this date, I'm not sure what I want to do when I grow up. Not that I've not grown up, but especially when I was studying, I had no clue what I want to do in life. And the only reason I picked up maths over science was because my mom could test me in science. Okay, she was a biology lecturer, and I hated that. Okay, and somebody could test me, and my dad, obviously, math was not his strong point. So I said, I'll pick up a subject that they cannot really challenge me on. So I picked up maths. And then obviously there are two options at that time, right? Doctor or an engineer. Who knows what else is there now? I think the people who are getting out of schools, the younger generation is much more aware, and then they exercise options. And I was equally bad at both. So I thought, okay, rather than killing people, let me take my chances with machines. So I became an engineer. And it continued. And then after engineering also, it's not like I did it in mechanical, believe it or not. And my claim to fame in mechanical is to be able to change a light bulb. That's all. Okay, I'm good. I'm not working in a mechanical industry. So the path of least resistance. And what happened then? I took a job. Everybody was going in IT, so I picked a job in IT. I mean, they picked me up rather. I didn't pick it up. So it is a path of least resistance you take without even exploring what you are good at. Or even if you think you are good at something, you don't have the conviction to see yourself through. So anything shortcut, okay, everybody is going there, let's just do that. Or your mind will say, who wants to strive to do all that stuff? Okay, let's go for a simpler thing. And same thing happens in our bhakti also. Rather than following the principles, which requires a bit of exertion to begin with, it's not a painful process. It becomes increasingly enjoyable. But the initial pain we are not willing to endure. Putting in that discipline or that conviction or willingness to exert ourselves, where we start progressing, and then obviously God's grace starts intervening and it starts becoming an enjoyable and all that process. But we are not able to sail through that initial point. Rather, even when we become spiritual, we cap it at religious stuff, ritualistic stuff alone, because we are likely to get rewards there. The flowery, rosy words of Vedas, they appeal to us because you do this, you get this result. This mindset of getting instant gratification, that instant coffee, 2-minute noodle, we keep on extending that even to the spiritual path as well, where we are focused on results. And if we can get it by going to this Baba or worshipping this Devata, why not? Who knows, what happens beyond that. So that is a mindset we need to shed, where we are just looking at the smaller, narrower picture around it. And once we get exposed to the higher principles, then the higher goal should be our aim. In fact, Maharaj Ji says, even if it takes you another 1,000 births, go for the highest. Do not settle for anything less. And when he says highest, he's not talking about bhukti mukti. He's already rejected that. He's saying within devotion also, take the topmost price of divine love. Don't settle for moksha and all those things. But it takes a bit of exertion, because things which are worthy of worth pursuing or endeavoring for are usually difficult to begin with. That is how the universe is designed, unfortunately, right? Enjoying ice cream does not take effort. Sleeping or procrastinating or becoming lazy does not take effort, right? Enjoying your best food day in and day out does not take effort. But things which are worthy actually take effort and a bit of exertion, austerity, discipline, all the good virtues that God talks about. So the biggest impediment is our mind, like PTG pointed out, and our mind will trick us into something lower because it's probably easier, low-hanging fruit. And that actually gets extended even in our spiritual journey as well, where we start settling for smaller things. Okay, let's do this, we'll get this, let's do that, we'll get that. Or if this person did that, or this, if you listen to this discourse, there's a promise of getting some material rewards, no accountability, nothing. We have to be watchful around that. So that is the key principle here. And with devatas, we don't really have to look at it in perspective. If you need something in materially and all that stuff, they'll do that, but it doesn't take us too far. In fact, it will deepen our sanskar that we keep asking for these things only, even in our coming lives as well. So it's better to attach our mind to the president as opposed to their cabinet ministers, and do it for the right reasons. So in fact, it is said, if you go to God, ask God for God, not God for things that God can give. Ask God for God, and then you will be fast-tracked into devotion. Swamiji's beautiful lecture, and I think he was saying that if you have these 2 or 3 things, I might have forgotten few, then God will pull you in the path of devotion. First, no complaints. Okay, that why did this happen to me? Why did that happen to me? Second, having patience, that His grace will come in due course of time. You keep doing your stuff. And third thing, I think he was talking about having some buddhi, probably, that when you face difficulties in your life, without willingness to exert yourself and face your difficulties in life. So these 2 or 3 things, if we have that kind of a mindset and attitude, then God will give you more and more of devotion, because then you start becoming dearer to God. So no complaints, face your problems in life, and have patience. Don't become super impatient about, okay, God's grace is not coming. I've been doing my sadhana for such a long time, and just be patient. It will happen in due course of time. Okay, any questions?
So there are lots and lots of questions today, Nitinji. I would request all of you to please put your questions in feedback tracker, because there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, if you want to ask one person, you can turn on your camera and we can discuss a little bit. Before that, we wanted to make quick announcements, Pallaviji.
Yes, so I have posted the feedback tracker. Please go ahead and share your comments, feedbacks, and questions. Also, I'm going to share the link for Chaitra Navratri, Ram Navami celebrations, and as well as for the spiritual retreat. Early bird special is until April 12th. So I'm going to post the link for that as well. Please go ahead, take a look at it, and please take a look at all those links and all the classes which are also going on in JK Yoga. I'll post all the links.
Thank you, Pallaviji.
Yeah, thank you. I'll go ahead and take Annapurna ji's hand is raised for quite some time. Annapurna ji, Radhe
Yes.
Radhe, please go ahead.
So yeah, No free lunches and no shortcuts to anything. Basically, God says you'll have to exert yourself to get anything, whether it's material and more.
Yes. Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you were discussing about Shiva and Brahma and all those things. I was reminded that I think from Mahavishnu, Garbhodaya, Vishnu, Brahma came, and from Brahma, all the things he went all the way to the lotus and, tapa, all those things, And later on, I think Shiva came from the forehead of Brahma. That's what I remember. I thought I can say, about that.
Sure, sure. We did one on Shivratri, a discussion on Lord Shiva, so we can get more deeper into that. But yeah, Shiv, Shankar, Panchashakti, all these concepts can get a bit confusing at times. I think we'll do a session again on Swanch and Vibhinansh. That will be an interesting one for you to go through. I personally find it pretty intriguing, so I can bring it to another session. Thank you so much, Annapurna ji.
Thank you. Radhe
Radhe.
Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead with your question.
Radhe Radhe. I had one perspective to add and then one question. So first I'll just talk about the perspective. That is with respect to this point. What is the biggest impediment? So it's in line with what you said. Just, I mean, I think it's not being ready to come out of a comfort zone. So, preferring everything which is in comfort. So if we are ready to come out of our comfort zone, even a little bit, we can, move towards achieving our goal. And what is there is one thing which is impediment, another thing which is motivation, is having the why, why we want to achieve that goal. If that is clear in our mind, I think that will motivate us enough to move towards it. And now coming to my question, that is
It's an easy question, please.
for you, I think it will be easy. Just for me, it's confusing. I mean, not confusing. I think it's a naive question. So you talked about tree, leaves, and root concept and different post hierarchy, or even the party broker concept. So when I am thinking, so there is demigods, there is gods, and there is guru. So where does guru fall when we think of these concepts?
Good question. Very good question. So guru is actually Acharya Mam Vijani Yar. Actually, our Bhagavatam says, Nav Mannet Karhichit. So basically, guru is God realized. First of all, who's a guru? It should have two attributes. Tri and Brahma.
Okay. Not call anything. Okay.
Okay. So if it's a Brahmanist, God realized, the definition of God realized is not somebody, I mean, we have to understand the definition of God. God realized means somebody who has realized God. And when somebody has realized God, there is no difference between God and that person. They become God-like. So God becomes, there could be two categories of gurus also. That is what we'll go through that hierarchy. One could be an avatari guru, where God himself has become a guru. That can happen from time to time. Avatari Purushkam. Okay. We can talk about that as well. Secondly, it could be a sadhan siddh guru who has become Swarupa Shakti Yukt. In either case, he's godlike. He's pretty much a godlike. Okay, so there's no technical difference between a guru, God-realized guru, and God, or for that matter, a God-realized person and God. They have all the
like Bhagwan Buddha, Nitinji.
Bhagwan Buddha, he was an avatar.
Yeah.
I think 12th avatar.
Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm just trying to understand.
Mahaprabhu is there.
I guess.
Shankaracharya was there. Kripaluji Maharaj was there. So they are all avatari Purush. They were not normal people. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's avatar happened because the depth of Radha's love and the separation that she feels is so intense that even God doesn't, Krishna also doesn't know that. So sometimes in order to, I mean, these are very deeper concepts. Sometimes in order to experience that, he takes on an avatar with the soul of Radha and the body of Krishna, and conversely to experience each other. It is so deep that, I mean, we'll get into those concepts. But sometimes God, just to experience himself, we can't understand right now, right? I mean, why won't I know about myself? But it is said that the depth of love and the separation that Radha feels, and that separation is not like they are anyway. Radha Krishna are like milk and whiteness. They are inseparable. But in divine leelas, they do that, enact that. So they say it is so intense that if it were to manifest in form of energy, this entire Brahmands will burn to ashes. So sometimes Krishna, in order to experience that, they take avatar as well, and they can come as guru as well. So the simple answer is a God realized guru and God, there's absolutely no difference. They become Swarupa Shakti Yukt and they have all the powers of God. They may look like ordinary humans and they will do their leelas, but then they will touch so many lives, make so many differences, and then close their pastimes. There's absolutely no difference at that point. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaru, right? That verse that we do, that exactly says that. Guru Sakshat Par Brahma Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Our scriptures say that. In fact, Kabirji said, in front of me, I have my Guru and God. Whom should I bow down first? And he says Guru. Because God actually meets you through his Guru. He's not going to manifest in front of you right away. Right? 4.34, we will come to that. That is a rule of God. It's just like a parents preparing a girl and boy will simply come and pick her up. The real work is done by Guru. So Guru in our scriptures takes even higher pedestal than God because he has done all the work. And it is said that even after you become God realized, you will still continue to work under your Guru's direction. That is how permanent that relationship is. Hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Rahulji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I think adding to that point, even Shri Krishna and Shri Ram had their gurus. So that is the importance of Guru.
Yeah, they do that to set an example for us that, it's important. Even though like Krishna, it took him, I don't know, very small amount of time to complete his entire studies, but he still made a guru to set an example for the world. Yeah, that's true. Sandeepani Muni, he picked up his guru, and Vashisht was Ram's guru. Very true. Great point.
And one more thing, I think Maharajji has mentioned probably in one of the lectures that we might not be able to approach directly to the God. That is why Guru is there, who finally provides that Swarup Shakti, and then we will be like towards that God realization path.
We need a guru sooner or later in life, okay, and it's with extreme fortune that connect happens. So yes, when we go to 4.34, we'll go really deep into the concept of guru, right? Like Lord Krishna tells Arjun that tad vidhi pranipaten pariprashnena sevaya. Basically, you have to go find a spiritual mentor and put your intellect at his feet, and then inquire him with reverence and submissive spirit, and that's how your ignorance will be dispelled. Lord Krishna has is clearly saying that in 4.34, and Bhagavatam reiterates the same. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Okay.
Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Ramya ji has a lot of questions today.
Radhe Radhe, Pallavi ji. Sorry. So I had a few questions. So one thing is usually in the horoscope there is. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
You said you had few questions, right? Can you ask the last one? Go ahead, please go ahead. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. So usually in horoscope there is this Mangal dosh, Kuch dosh, and all of this, right? And they recommend them to do this Rahu Ketu puja and puja to Mars and this planets and all. So is that considered a demigod worship?
No, those doshas, they do manifest, of course, and that is there. That is why this guy Ravan had these Navgraha as his. He had captured all the Navgrahas, by the way. Okay, and then when he captured it, when his son was about to get born, Indrajit or Meghnad, he got their position perfectly aligned. Okay, make the position so perfectly aligned that nobody can defeat him. But I think Ketu did something bad, and it displaced itself from its position, even though it was under Ravan's dominion, and because of which there was a vulnerability in his horoscope. So horoscope is a perfect science. However, in today's world, very few people understand it, and in devotion they said don't worry too much about that, because anyway your planets are not going to change their position, right? So yes, that is there for sure. Navgraha, in fact, Hanumanji liberated all of them when he went to Lanka. So Hanumanji, if you worship Hanumanji, then I don't know, I'm not recommending you to do that. Navgrahes are already taken care of. But I think those doshas and all stuff is there. I don't know, you can ask Swamiji about that. And I think there are upayas for those doshas as well. But if you're in the path of devotion, you just leave it to God. Because when you are actually watering the root, rest of the things start aligning around you. He will make sure that whatever happens in your life is actually something that contributes to your devotional path only. So our priority should not be to align our stars or make our life comfortable. Our priority should be to develop love for God. That is what they say in path of devotion, at least. I've never heard Swamiji or anybody talking about do upayas, different upayas, or think about horoscope. They say when you're in path of devotion, that should be also good. But yeah, if you are in Karam Kand and all that stuff, yeah, there are things like that. Do this upay, do that upay, marry a tree first, right? The tree will die. Who cares? Because you had no. So I can't comment too much on that. In path of devotion, you simply focus on God. And typically, if you do it with devotion, he will make sure that anything that is needed for you is given to you, preserved. Anything that is not needed for you will be destroyed on the path. So we keep it simple in our head.
Okay, I had a couple of more questions also. I think I'll post an attendance tracker because it's almost time.
Sure, sure.
Thank
Okay,
you so much, Ramya ji.
So much, Ramya.
Padma ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So, my perspective, I'm looking at this question, right? What is the biggest impediment to the highest goal? Even if we take this on a materialistic level, right? Anything, whether it's your relationships or job or anything, what are those impediments, right? It is our self-doubt, that we have never experienced the water that we don't know, right? So trying something new, which is comfort zone. But if you really deeply think about not just giving it a big picture of comfort zone, but what is that really you're struggling with, right? Which is our projected fears, right? Our own projection of fears that in order for me to go through this process, maybe I would be able to do this, maybe that, whatever that confusion and fears is, that the projected fears or we have in our own mind, even before trying something. And then the last thing that I wanted to say was, our mind is so conditioned that we want to see the product, how it looks like, before we even conceive that, and before we want to make an attempt. But God says, don't try to go there, don't put your vision to the product, but just put your vision to the process. You take that step, you take the courage, I will be right there with you, holding your hand. And that is the biggest step, to convince ourselves to take that one little baby step, going beyond our fears, going something that we have never tried before. That little step will give you a very good edge to go in, like long term, whether it is material or spiritual. I feel once you filter out those material hindrances and layers that we form in our mind, I think that gives you that liberation and the confidence and the conviction to try something on a spiritual level also. I feel like you have applied it, you have seen the results, and you are convinced that, okay, I can do this.
Beautiful point. That's very true. The mindsets that we acquire even in our material life can easily be extended even to our spiritual practice as well. That is how it goes. So if you see people who are really intelligent, when they pick up on this part, they go very fast because they've cracked some of the principles that have worked for them even in material life. So very true. So the mindsets that we acquire are very easily extensible, and that's a very beautiful point. Let's move on. I think I saw
Yeah, I saw Preeti ji's hand raised, and then Preeti ji. So Lakshmi ji, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. My question is like, yeah, much of the thing is answered. This goal thing is the highest goal. When we put a strong goal, I think you automatically, like Swamiji lectures I have heard, he says that the strong goal, then you put the effective effort so that you can reach your goal. That is one. And the next, my question is like, guru, can a person can have two gurus?
two gurus. At a point in time, you would typically have one guru. It's just like You can't fall in love with two people, right? I give that concept. You may resonate with somebody's philosophy, but you cannot. It's like when you start getting more clarity, there will be one message that will cut through your heart. It cannot be two multiple messages, because now you know what you need, and you will find the well that will quench your thirst actually. Other wells, okay, it doesn't take you so deep that you are looking for, and there will be one well that will actually quench your thirst. Until then, yeah, you can have two, three, four. Generally we like, right? It all appeals like something similar only. All good things, nice things, it makes sense. But as you start getting deeper, you'll be able to differentiate butterscotch from vanilla, from those things will start happening. Initially everything looks vanilla, but as you start going deeper, you will understand. You'll start seeing the difference, where the other person is stopping and where the other person is going deeper. That will take some time, but yeah, initially it is fine, but eventually it's not possible. I mean, that is the natural progression on this path, for sure. There will be one message that you will resonate with. That is exactly what you want to do. It typically be with none. Initially, yeah, I mean, 5, 6, 7, 8, it all appeals the same. Everything appeals same. But the day you start seeing the differences, that's mean now you have come to the next level. Till that time, you keep listening and taking the best out of everything, kind of a deal that can continue. Yes, last one maybe.
Yes, Seema-ji, thank you. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. I think let me see my notes. Lack of faith within oneself and God can be the biggest impediment. If you don't have faith, you can't even go to the doctor or take the medicine. So I believe faith in alignment with bhakti. So I tend to go in that avenue. And the other thing was I wanted to say was let's see, what did I write? Water, electricity, and people take the path of least resistance.
Very true. Now you're talking science, Seema-ji, very nice. Least resistance, yeah. We all are tuned to take the path of least resistance because it's easy, it's convenient, it's within our comfort zone, right? Exertion, endurance, perseverance, austerity, sacrifice, hard work, that is what is needed actually to achieve success in any field, more so in spiritual field. That's what God is asking. He's asking us to clear his entrance, not any material entrance. So it has to be at a different level altogether. But I think I love the Swamiji's discourse on that. The very simple things. Don't complain, have patience, and face adversities. Okay. Have that willingness to, I'm going to get out of it, rather than getting into a negative mindset and complaining and all that. If you do that, you are anyway forming an eligibility for getting God's grace and devotion in your life. So these are the very, very important mindsets to have, and it will help us in all walks of life, because material reversals are bound to happen. God's testing is bound to happen. And then either they say, right, Jnani bhukte gyante, Murakh bhukte roye. So do we want to face it like a wise person or like an ignorant person? Choice is ours. Because life will do its tricks from time to time. There is no option, and each one of us has to go through that. Nobody is immune to it at all.
But the ignorant person doesn't even know they're ignorant. When
Yes,
they're in the Rajasic or Tamasic mode.
Ignorance is not a bliss, actually. It's not that it makes them happy just because they don't know. They are suffering.
They don't know they should be trying.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a different
knowledge,
different trajectory. Buddha, somebody asked Buddha, what makes you the way you are? And he said, 100 lifetimes back, I was like you only. Right? So we are all in a trajectory. It's not that somebody's born. We are all working, and the more we work on ourselves, the better off, the more head start we will have in our next lifetime, assuming we don't achieve God in this lifetime itself, like Shyamji is going to do so.
Me too.
And Seemaji, of course. Okay, great discussion. We will continue tomorrow. We will bring them some.
Yeah, great discussion. I see there are a lot of chat messages. So I think Manish ji wanted to know how to use the feedback tracker. Manish ji,
you can just
click on the link and you can see that, you can fill in the information over there. It's very simple.
Click it, fill it, and forget it. It's like Hero Honda ad we used to have. A very simple process. Simple. Click it, fill it, forget it.
And Manish ji also mentioned that he really likes this class. A great knowledge. It's a great knowledge. Thank you, Manish
Where are
ji.
you joining us from, Manish ji?
Manish ji, please raise your hand. I can unmute you.
You can mention it and I can check it out in the feedback tracker. But we'd love to hear from newer participants, especially if you have started joining in recently. It's always good to hear from you. And
yeah, please go ahead, Manish ji.
Yes, I am. I'm joining from Hawthorne, California.
Okay. Good to have you on the session. Please keep providing your feedback and love to hear more from you.
Yeah, I really love the concept of the Prasad Buddhi. That really hit me, that you mentioned.
Prasad Buddhi, yeah.
Yeah, where take everything that comes your way as, you know.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Good to hear from you, Manishi. I think we can do
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much. So today, who's going to do the closing prayers? Rahul or Shyamji? I can see two cameras. Who else is there? Sandhya did that yesterday. So, but you need to know.
I can do it too.
Oh yeah, please go ahead. Let's do that together.
Okay. Om Sahana Bhavantu. No, what was it again? Sorry.
Sukhina.
Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Sarve Santu Niramaya. Sarve Bhadrani Paschantu. Ma Kashchid Dukh Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
More hand raised. Yashwati, you had a real good question.
Shruti ji, you had a question, Shruti ji, or you're there? I don't see her hand raised anymore. Oh yeah, oh it is there. Go ahead, Shruti ji.
No, actually, I want to say the prayer, but it's done. Thank you anyway.
All right, you got the opportunity. Tomorrow you can take lead on that. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a great day ahead. And we'll continue on this shloka tomorrow. Some more aspects we'll bring in and have some more discussion. We'll bring in some 4P concept from management as well. So I was thinking about that. If it fits in, we'll do that tomorrow along with the shloka. Wonderful.
Thank you, Nitin ji, for such an enlightening, knowledgeable class. Thank you for sharing. We are really blessed to be in this session, in the class all the time. I say that. And thank you everyone for joining. Such a wonderful devotees, satsangis, very warm, enthusiastic participation is always there. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed day and a blessed evening.
Thank you for the opportunity. Radhe Radhe. Good night.